Use of rudder angle to avoid the banking effect. The banking effect is a very well-known effect what officers and masters oftentimes encounter if they are on river or channels, navigating in narrow channels. Then they will encounter also the banking effect. So now what to do to avoid the banking effect? This is always a question what we have to answer and to ask ourselves and to answer later. So therefore, the banking effect is when a vessel is navigating close to a shelving bank, for example, in a canal or river, it may experience a pressure buildup between the hull and the obstructing bank due to the fast-flowing water between them. So what does it mean? If we have here a ship who is here in the river and or in the channel, you will see that is around about the center line of the channel. So we are out of the center line and we are close here to the bank. So which means the ship is steering now towards the bank and will be sucked in here by the stern and will be pushed away forward. So to avoid this banking or bow cushion effect, the ship command must react with the correct counter rudder angle. And this is also a part of the voyage plan and the master pilot exchange and have to be discussed with the pilot in details and not just in superficially manner. So this is how it looks like. We have here the bank where we have here water which is slowly floating here in between the ship and the bank and builds up here a relative high pressure area. And here we have now the faster flow. That means we have here a suction area, relative pressure fall. That means we have a negative pressure here. So that means here the water flow gets by far faster than forward. So we have here a so-called shear effect due to the bank effect. That means my vessel will shear away if I don't do anything. Vessel will shear away, like we can see this here. So shearing away here, away from the bank, and aft it will be sucked into the bank due to the negative pressure. If I'm now counteracting, so then what to be done is we have to steer through the bank, which means we have to use the rudder effect to steer through the bank. So if I'm steering to the bank, then my stern will be free. That means my stern will move away from the bank. But the question is how many rudder angle I need to overcome this banking effect, because if I have too much rudder angle, then I will really fast move towards the bank and I may be not able to control it anymore. So therefore, we have to check what rudder angle is actually required. So therefore, there is a diagram, and the diagram is built up in several parameters which have to be known. We have first nu. Nu is the value from the center of the ship's breast until the center line of the channel or river. That means if I have a breadth of 24 meters, so which means the center line is as 12 meters. And if I have a width here of 4 meters, then it is 12 plus 4. Then we have here that nu have to be first to be calculated, and then we have nu over b, and b is the breadth of the ship, which gives me the ratio nu over b. The other ratio which is have to be known is the water depth over the draft of the ship. We also, if we do not know where the center line is, we also can check in the nautical publication what is the width of the river or the channel, and then I know actually what is the center line of my channel. So I have a ship breadth of 28 meters. The distance from the center line is 2 meters. That means this distance here from here to here, this distance is 2 meters. So nu, now we have 28 divided by 2 because it's half of the ship's breadth, plus the 2 meters from the ship's shell plating until we are reaching the center line is 16 meters. So now we are calculating nu over b. This ratio is 60 meters over 28 is 0.6. So the draft is 10.5 meter and my water depth is 13 meters. Therefore, my ratio H over D is 13 meter divided by 10.5 is 1.2 meter. So now you plan to turn it to the port side, the bank is on the starboard side. So which means we know that I have my bank on the starboard side. Therefore, my rudder angle should be towards the starboard side because there is my bank located. And that we can see here on the diagram, we have here the starboard and port axis, and here is a ratio. That means nu over B. So which means in the moment I have now my bank on my starboard side, that means I have to give rudder angle to the starboard side. So therefore we are checking. Our nu was 0.6. 0.6 is here. So then place a line until it intersects with the ratio line H over D. And that was 1.2. So from there we go parallel to the axis, parallel to the new B axis, and then we are reaching here starboard, and then we see that is about 8 to 9 degrees as a rudder angle I need to overcome the banking effect. So which means the same we can do if my bank is on the port side. So also here 0.6, and we can see here is a little bit different because here I have now about 14 degrees if it is on the port side. So what will happen if my values are changing? For sure, if I have, for example, now a value which has, let's say 0.9, and we have around about 1.5 as a ratio, 0.9 is here. So, and you see that is then my rudder angle. So which means the ratio nu over B will be influenced by the ship's breadth and the distance from the center line. That means from the ship to the center line, and by the ratio H over D. That means with the same draft but with less water, with more water depth, my value will increase. If the value increases, I have less rudder angle to use. As soon as H over D is decreasing, then my value will be larger. So, and that is actually how to use such a diagram if we are checking what is the required rudder angle to avoid the bank effect. So I hope it helps you a little bit for the next voyage and river passage or channel passage to avoid this banking effect, and also to have a better understanding for the pilots, because the pilots are using this banking effect. That means this rudder angle to steer towards the bank. And what is very important, that is out of my own experience, is the helmsmen have to be already also informed about this. So that means not that he thinks, okay, that was a wrong command by the pilot and he will steer away from the bank instead of towards the bank. And that have to be discussed, and therefore also be discussed by the master in the toolbox meeting together with all who are involved in this maneuvers. That means with the officers and including the helmsmen. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. Have a nice day.